Okay, oh hey hey gang. Why is I like how I go live and I do love timers and immediately the ice cream man just decides, hey, I'm gonna join you. Thanks for the follow, Mod. Yeah, he's just sitting outside my house screaming, hey, let's get ice cream. Except no, please, for the love of God, it's not hot enough. It's pissing down rain outside. But yes, hello. It's been a little bit. We are resuming. Before it, you know what? I will, when he starts going again, I'll stay quiet. There are people screaming outside now. But it is kind of scary sometimes, like when it's in the middle of the night. So yes, when was it? Yeah, before lockdown last year, we started doing Spooky Saturdays, which was kind of like spooky games, but obviously not necessarily scary. So usually like supernatural-ish games. And, you know, we've decided we're going to resume it now. Yes. I'm pretty sure one of the people outside is like the local homophobe. So yeah, they're submissive and breedable. The script for the cryptid video is done, so I'll be filming that a little later today or tomorrow morning. It's such a big project that I was like, I need something that I can wind down with, and you know, my brain won't go brrr. Let's turn this down a little bit. But yeah, so I will admit I did a little bit of a Steam roulette, and it came up with the first episode of the Vampire the Masquerade visual novels that came out, I think, literally last year. They've been sitting in my inventory on Steam for about 10 years. So yeah, it's. I'm sorry, my neck. Oh, ironically, talking about vampires, my neck is now aching. But yeah, I love visual novels. Visual novels are probably some of my favorite things to like utilize, and also the people behind these games. I think choice of games always make them LGBT friendly, so they're kind of like they're good company to support. But otherwise, without further ado, you get to listen to my suave British narrator voice, because you're getting ready to pass a diesel Mercedes when the shifter goes all loose. You jiggle the stick and pump the clutch, but it's like holding a dead man's hand. Your old Honda drifts off the highway in a cloud of sand and grit. A moment later, the engine stalls. You pop the hood and fumble around in the back of a flashlight. Then you realise that it's getting light out. You can feel that this poor car, your companion for 10 lonely years, is finished. And if you're still out here when the desert sun rises, so are you. So yes, we play a vampire. Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry, Ma. Yeah, we play a vampire who's traveling, I think it's the east coast of America. Yeah, Arizona. Talking to all the elders in this area. So cars fall apart. So do people. So do phones. You pull out your old iPhone and check the time in the cracked screen. It's 5 p.m. But you know what? If at any point it comes up that we can kiss the car, we will kiss the car. We will commit one of the the people who are like, yeah, you know, I eat sand, or like I like to eat like mattresses. Yeah, we're gonna be the kiss the car person. Unlike your poor Honda or the tattered air freshener hanging from your window, which used to hide the smell of dried blood, you're lost forever. If you can find somewhere to hide before 6:41 a.m. You've been making these courier runs for 10 years, each year making less than the last, hiding in trunks or storage units during the day, racing down the desert highways at night, with messages and parcels on your passenger seat. It's been boring. It's felt like getting old, trapped in this body that can never age. Well, you're not bored now. You're even breathing again. Well, short, frightened little breaths as you watch the sky lighten in the east. Nerves, you thought, extinguished years ago, fire up again, making your hands shake. You feel almost alive as you check under the hood. The cable clutch is fucked. No surprise there. Maintenance hasn't been a possibility, let alone a priority. And when you look at the engine, you realise the problems run deeper than one busted cable. You've been ignoring the warning signs like an old man who keeps coughing and won't go to the doctor. Ironic. And the engine looks like... Well, the engine looks like you're going to look in exactly. You check your phone again. 16 minutes. Maybe there is still time. You look around at the dusty highway, the wasteland that stretches out to the black horizon in every direction, and try to recall your mortal life. Something you learned when you still drew breath must have the power to save you here. Okay, so our first choice. What is our character? Who are they? Who have they decided to become? Did they grow up poor working on cars, which obviously would help here? Why did that? So that withheld your message because apparently it's bullying to call a vampire a DILF. I'm sorry, that's just too funny. We can be a vampire DILF, which would mean that we would be probably military, I would say. Because obviously, like, vampire DILF military kind of goes hand in hand. But then would that imply that our character used to be a leader of a vampire army, maybe? Well, we have the choice of growing up poor, having lots of mortal friends and still keeping in touch with some, serving in the military, or obviously getting good education, aka rich bitch. We're gonna go with I served in the military, because that just seems like a poggers kind of thing. Oh, I hate myself. You've been in worse situations than this. You tell yourself, well, actually, you never saw serious combat. You never in this much trouble when you were alive, and back then you weren't alone. Where did you serve? Iran. So, well, we're an army marksman, Coast Guard, joining the army to beat people up, a navy officer, or a marine recon. I'm gonna say a vampire. You know, if we're going for the vampire DILF angle and we're in the military, I feel like we did just join to beat people up, which would make a lot more sense because, you know, dads, am I right? Zing. If you could beat the shit out of your CRX or threaten it into compliance, you'd be safe by now. But army combatives taught you more than how to dislocate limbs. You learned how to react quickly and intelligently to threats and to trust your intuition, because you had trained your intuition. And right now, your intuition is telling you not to wait. Get out. Anywhere. In any direction, because that's better than waiting here to burn. So you grab the satchel with your deliveries and head away from the highway, looking for anything that might save you from destruction. An old mine shaft, an abandoned shack, anything. The stars to the east are gone, replaced by a blue-purple haze. It's 6:30 a.m. You remember the last time you saw the sun. You were so focused in those days, life was so clear. You knew what you were going to come, and then you were back in the States, dead broken with a headache that never fully went away, staying at the house of a friend who pitied you more than liked you. That evening, you stood on the little wrought iron balcony, watching the sunset over a city you didn't even like, idly making plans to leave. Maybe you would re-enlist, maybe you'd take up that job offer, maybe you'd kill yourself. You couldn't decide. When your roommate shouted at you to carry a box of his old shit to Goodwill, you shrugged and went downstairs with it. Well, of course, Goodwill was closed, and when you came back it was night, the door was locked, and no one would answer their phone. And then a shadow detached itself from the wall of the alley. When you rose again, burning with hunger and sticky with your own blood, your killer did not call you kindred, or Cainite, or vampire. First, you learned about your clan, your lineage, a bloodline that existed since before history, before all cities except one. The killer said you belonged to... Okay, so... For those who haven't played Vampire the Masquerade, it's kind of like Blade in that all vampires, well, not all, most vampires belong to bloodlines or lineages. And it's cool, I think they are literally just called clans. And each clan kind of has a different thing to it. So yeah, some clans are like considered the rulers of the world. Some are considered like, for example, less good for the masquerade, because the masquerade is kind of like your, in Harry Potter you have the not being able to tell muggles. That's kind of similar in that the masquerade, you can't break it. I mean, we could become Nosferatu, which is, the clan is usually these really creepy looking you know what, it is literally warrior cats but kind of with vampires. And the original board game is very much based in D&D, so a lot of it does come down to like playing like people who are like, you know, punks who want to get away from the like regime of like the rulers, or whether we want to become like cultists who want to get rid of like the whole, you know, humankind. I'm gonna say we're gonna be part of Clan Brrr. It's always the clan that I usually go with. I always end up with either Clan Tremere or Clan Brrr, because I always, so in, I think it's the World of Darkness 5, Clan Brrr is more well known for being positive LGBT, stuff like that. But it depends on who's your dungeon master. Once a proud clan of philosophers, the rage-fueled rebels are now scattered and disorganised. Obviously, our disciplines are celerity, pretense, presence. We have unnatural strength of speed, which helps the unsubtle Brrr in a fight. But the secret to their survival is in shaping crowds with their eerie charisma. Also, we have, you know, a really bad temper that we can fly into rages and beat up a car because, you know, you'll say I did not embrace you for any. It is, yes, the whole of the Vampire Masquerade is on Steam. So basically, as I said, they all come under the series called Choice of, which is, I've got pretty much most of them at this point, but they're basically all text-based adventures, so choose your own adventures, which are, you don't have to worry about like looking at, like, for example, whether or not you can run it. Usually if you can run a text-based thing, you're fine. But yeah, they usually go down, like they're £7 now, but usually they're like, can go down to like £3. I think some of them are even £1 at one point. Your sire did not embrace you for any intrinsic property you possessed, or even as part of any long-term plan. You were just a way to insult the old prince of Tuscan. Your sire, an Edwardian street punk embraced during the Great War called Patermaster, loved thumping his nose at traditions. His greatest insult, creating chowder without permission. The Camarilla, what passes for civilization among the undead, has only one punishment for a vampire who embraces without the prince's permission, and the punishment falls on both sire and child. Patermaster dared the prince to invoke his rights and destroy both of you. And for reasons you've never understood, the prince balked. It was not out of mercy, that's for sure. Maybe he needed Patermaster's influence over the other Brrr. Maybe he wanted to act as if your sire's antics were beneath his notice. Maybe he had some clever long-term plan for you. Whatever the reason, the old prince's neglect of the traditions proved a fatal mistake. Within a year, a rival within Clan Ventura had turned Tuscan into a war zone, and the prince was a pile of ash with teeth in it. Yeah, no, I've bought quite a, like, I have most of the World of Darkness series because it's one of my favorite series. But yeah, I have all the DLC to do with this game, so we have a lot of choice. I'm not gonna lie, and also the choice of games is actually a really good community. The dev team are really like quite nice as well. And also it it supports the idea that we're going to get more World of Darkness stuff, because we've been in such a drought since like the 90s. Padamuster barely had time to enjoy his victory. Over the decades, the Camarilla had grown increasingly brittle, recognizing the influence of only a handful of clans, specifically the Ventra. And then, one night, the Brrr declared that they were leaving the Camarilla. It was supposed to be an amicable split. The ghoul assassins came for you the next day. The Ventra, even more than other vampires, love their ghouls. Human servants fed on vampire blood who gain agelessness, a little power in exchange for slavish devotion to their masters. How did we survive? You know what? Yeah. Yeah, but the Camarilla is kind of like the secret that all vampires must adhere to, you know, not get murdered. And there's never been anyone that's really left it, apart from kind of like the Nosferatu clan. But we rule Skyline, and they rule Skyline, but we rule the streets. Our allies among the city's homeless and, you know, desperate brought us time. We use our incredible speed to escape. This is basically setting up all of our stats. So if you look in the right corner here, we have all of our stats and what our skills and yeah, you like what everything kind of like is setting up to be for our playthrough. Yeah, so the Brrr had been philosopher kings once. Padamuster, in so many other ways, a sloppy, venal, and selfish man, often returned to that legend of what the Brrr had once been, almost as a point of faith. And perhaps you were naive, but you took him at his word and cultivated a court of your own in the dingy strip malls and trash-strewn convenience stores, parking lots of Tuscan. They saved both of you when the Ventura sent their hired killers. You practically flew to safety, your haste aided by the mysterious power of your blood. But Padamuster lost everything except his skin that night. Embittered, unfairly blaming you for his loss, he disappeared the next night, leaving you to struggle on the outskirts of the Camarilla. Not quite under sentence of destruction, but still a pariah. You became a kind of shadow on the edges of the major city. But as the months became years, you realised that no one cared about your lineage as long as they could use you. And they could use you. And after all that, 10 years on these miserable desert highways, scraping by on the charity of your elders as you run their errands. You've lost your edge, the clarity of your focus, sacrificing specialization in order to learn trick after trick, in order to survive from night to night. If you were still alive, you'd probably be middle-aged. The elders of the kindred are lives wrapped in flesh. Undeath is no promise of immortality. You've seen 100 Canaanites born into the night, only to die a few months later at the hands of hunters of their own kind. Or just because they didn't know what time it was. Well, strange that you're going to die young. The air ripples. It smells like burning metal. You never should have bought a hatchback. Your dead heart beats, ready to pump vitae through your veins so you can run quick as a panther. But where? You tell yourself that you're not burning. Not yet. That the smell is just a scent of your fear. It's someone else's blood simulating sweat on your forehead. It's a familiar smell, actually. Metal, rust, blood. You smell blood. You run towards the smell of blood. The lightning sky reveals an old filling station. Faded sign banging faintly in the slight wind with the creak of metal. Located just off an old frontage road, its windows have been boarded up for years. You don't see blood, and now you can't even smell it, but that doesn't matter. As the first ruby red light touches the hills, only shelter matters. Maybe you have a chance. Though the station looks abandoned, you see footprints in the sand. A golden eagle sits on the stripped diesel dispenser, watching you with unsettling intensity. You approach the main building, looking for a way in. The windows and doors are all boarded up, and though there's a garage door for a loading dock, it seems locked. The eagle spreads its wings and screams. You don't have time for this, the sun will kill you. But first, it will drive you mad. You can feel the beast rising in you. The beast, the untamed monster that lurks inside every vampire, that drives you to acts of depravity and violence. You're losing control. You need to act now, but that eagle seems almost to have been put here to guard this place. Its tail all slacks. I mean, yeah. I think That's to be fair, I read this too quickly, and I thought it said that you've unlocked the brrr gift of superhuman strength, that you stride past the eagle and smash through the eagle, and I was actually like, that's not very nice. We're going to invoke the dread power of our bloods and order the eagle from my presence. You don't need to say anything. You stride forward with the blood burning behind your eyes, and the dread fury of your gaze, perhaps mingled with the rising bestial terror you feel as sunrise approaches, drives the eagle back. It flaps away with a frightened caw. Without distraction of the eagle, you're able to move quickly around the abandoned station. You run to the north side, which will buy you a few more seconds before the light destroys you. And there you find a single open window. As smoke starts to escape from your clothes, you will go inside, then crawl kick away from the hole. Woo! We survived the sun! I've always found it interesting that vampires are like super weak to the sun, because obviously they're meant to be like night crawlers, because it feels like such a weird thing. And when you have vampire films like Twilight where it's like, no, they just sparkle, they don't die, it's just even funnier. But a wave of exhaustion hits you as the sun rises fully. The kindreds were not meant to remain awake during daylight hours, and you look around for anywhere safe you might rest. There's an old metal-topped freezer beside a counter here, just big enough to hold you and sealed against sunlight. Inching around the shafts of daylight that filter through the open window and the gaps in the board, you wench the old freezer open. It smells like expired milk, but you can't really worry about that now. You drop into the old freezer and pull the lid shut. I feel like this is like the worst thing to do, because as much as like freezers old freezers you can use to survive the like apocalypse, how are you gonna reopen it? Then you mentally inventory all the things you do need to worry about. Your ruined car, the ache of hunger in your gums, the smell of fresh blood somewhere in this building, the strange eagle. You may not survive another night, but at least you survived this one. You survived the cruel ambitions of your sire, Padamuster. You eluded the assassins that came to destroy both of you, and you survived out here in the desert for years, one night at a time. You permit yourself a tight little smile. You can still make it. You can still find a way out of this. And then the blackness of the day sleep swallows you. Woo! At least, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can die to the sun, but you have to be incredibly unlucky. So if anyone had found you that day in the disused freezer, they would see only a disheveled corpse. While the sun is in the sky, that's all you are. The blood you got back in El Paso before you hopped in your... Why am I not surprised this is a Honda? Awakens the moment the sun sets. The return to consciousness is instantaneous and agonizing. You open your eyes in blackness. Your limbs are still heavy, as if crushed by the weight of the sun. As you wait, you can think about the Camarilla. You remember what the elders made you do to crawl back into their good graces. Oh no. You were desperate then, and you knew you had to obey. They paired you with another desperate young Canaanite, a charming young man named Julian Sim, who talked far too much. He was something that other kindred called an Aethamite, and back then you didn't know if that was another clan like the brrr or another sect like the Camarilla. No one ever bothered to tell you. Julian had the eager energy of a congressional page and the glaring patient eyes of a reptile. He was out for himself, and so were you, and they gave you something in common. You remember Julian's lime green geo-tracker crunching to a halt over gravel. You jumped out and felt the sand beneath your feet, still hot hours after sunset, though the night air felt cool. What's that? Julian was well dressed, despite the rough work, but back then you always wore the same thing when out in the desert. Coveralls with the name you used sewn on a patch. Well, not your real name, of course. That person died in an alley outside a locked apartment. You still call yourself... What? See, now we get to name our character. I'm pretty sure this is when we start gender as well. I'm kind of leaning towards something like Pyre, because we've just survived the sun, like almost burning us to death, and I feel like it would make sense because you're using what like is your weakness against you, and also, you know, Pyre's kind of a cool name. Those old coveralls let you pass as maintenance worker just about anywhere. They were better protection from prying eyes than any Nosferatu's invisible arts. Carrying water for the ivory tower, eh, Pyre? Julian said with a little chuckle, hoisting the plastic gallon jugs out of the back of the tracker. Each read, Buena suerte, or something like it in blue Sharpie. You didn't laugh. This wasn't humanitarian work. Well, or maybe it was. The desert princes still feared the thing that slept under those sands. They told you that if woke up hungry, it would tear the sand apart. How long do you think we're going to do this? Julian asked. Julian talked too much. But sometimes he cut through the bullshit with words that carried a constellation of meanings. How long? Decades? Centuries? We? Neonates. Nothing but larvae in the eyes of the elders. And this awful work. So how does our character speak? Like, I feel like our character would be obviously within the context of like them obviously being British, because you know I don't want to sound like a typical American. I don't want to insult American. But I feel like they'd be like not necessarily suave, but like kind of what you'd expect the suited guys on the underground to sound like, which is kind of like, I hate this evil work as much as you do. The Camarilla claims they act for the greater good of all kindred. It's just a lie. Like back of the throat, kind of like my my issue is my male voice is like just super croaky, so I'm just literally like speaking from the back of my voice. But evil, huh? Julian said. Everything we do is terrible, Pyre. We're supposed to make peace with it so we don't destroy ourselves. I wasn't religious in life, you know. Maybe I'm still not. He lapsed into silence for a moment, then shook his head and said, Anyway, we agree. We can't keep doing this. Even if we're monsters and we don't have souls, we have bodies that the Camarilla will grind into dust the moment it's convenient to them. We need to make plans. I like how I said I'm not going to do an American accent, and I probably did an American. A hot desert wind whipped Julian's black hair around his head as he counted the gallons of water. The Camarilla gave you a job they considered necessary, even vital. Desperate migrants stumbled through this part of the desert, fleeing violence in Mexico and Central America for the promise of a better life in the States. Without water, many died. 8 groups dropped water and supplies for the migrants. The year before, the Camarilla had infiltrated and supplemented one of those 8 groups, replacing their members with you and Julian. Your job? Position the water above the Scalales and Nosferatu Elder, the one known only as Riri Mouse. The victims he claimed would give him enough blood to prevent his full awakening. This sucks, Julian said as you checked GPS coordinates on your Garmin. I mean, I know where we are, and all we do to survive. But this is just so stupid. It's inefficient and wasteful. This is how the world ran 2 or 3 centuries ago, Pyre. Before anyone invented flowcharts or assembly lines. Yeah. You know, my character is obviously, you know, a punk. He's down for like fucking up the establishment, so this work is intolerable, and we would convince Julian that we need to find something Ben to do with our unlives. Make up my mind to ditch Julian. The moment you understood what you had come, you knew what you would have to make certain sacrifices in order to maintain your undead existence. The beast needed to be fed, after all. But there were limits, and this was yours. You and Julian didn't even need to say anything. You just threw the water back in the tracker and drove off. You dumped the plastic jugs a few miles up the road. After a long silence, Julian said, The thing about our masters is they don't actually have very long memories. All us neonates look sort of alike to them. We'll keep our heads down for a few years. Is there anyone else? We'll say we got run off by, I don't know, werewolves or annex or something. We still don't have any money, you run the ass mine. But it's gonna be a bad fucking couple of years, Park. Julian said. I feel like he'd be like a cowboy. Like he'd have a little cowboy hat and be like, yeah, Park. Turns into fucking Pete from Fallout New Vegas. It wasn't actually that bad for Julian though. A few months later, Julian got his money, though you never learned how. Something to do with venture capital interested in the software he was developing. Anyway, one night he just disappeared, leaving you with a geo-tracker, a stack of CDs with file names written on them, blue Sharpie, and instructions to deliver them to an industrial park in Austin. You looked up his new company, 2100X, which apparently located in Denver. But you could never find an address or a contact number. And that's been your life ever since. You can move your hands now. You push the top of the freezer open, haul yourself out, and drop silently to the ground. Your hunger is an ache in the back of your gums that leads right up behind your eyes that threatens to turn into a migraine. You can hold off the beast a few more nights like this, but you will need to feed soon. You wander past dusty and empty shelves and glance outside through gaps in the boarded up windows. You can't see that strange eagle, but you still smell blood. It's faded, but impossible to ignore. Movement catches your eye, but it's just your reflection in the broken glass of an empty display case. You stare into the eyes of a haunted-looking, entirely young, and, oh, might I say, dashing... Yeah, obviously, for obvious reasons. You look like shit. Bloodshot eyes, skin pulled back from your nails and teeth, thrift store clothes. Even your satchel looks like someone dragged it down a highway. You check the satchel. Your deliveries, USBs, are still in there. They hear sound outside. A few whispered words in Spanish, weeping. Thank God. Food. They must have pulled some board away to get inside, then covered them up so no one from the road spots their flashlight. You're in the middle of the disused convenience store's 3 aisles, invisible in the darkness. At the far side of the store, a short hallway leads to 3 doors. A locked bathroom straight ahead, and then 2 doors. One to the left and one to the right. You guess the left door leads to a storage room. The mortals are trying to get it open. You count 4 of them. A man and a woman in their mid-20s, an ancient woman, and a frail and grey-haired older man, even smaller than the old woman. The younger woman whispers something in Spanish you don't catch, then forces the storage room door open with a shriek of metal. Not much here, the young man says, sweeping the storage room with his flashlight. He's trailing heavy. Crowbar, backpack, water bottles, road flares. Wait, those are your road flares. They must have found your Honda. Well, whoever they are, they're foolish, desperate to bring a woman in her 70s, at least. There's a guy who isn't built for this kind of work. You're surprised that they're this far north without having already made contact with someone. The young woman starts jiggling the handle to the bathroom, which is between the storage room and the office. Bored and fearless, the old man hobbles down one of the aisles, and your beast screams behind you. I feel like... Now, this may be ageist of me, but I feel like we should maybe go for the old man. Like, now, don't get me wrong. I love the elderly. I'm a big fan of the elderly. However, in the eyes of my military NPC character, I feel like if they're going to go after anyone, they are probably going to go after, like, the easiest kill. Especially since they're like stealthy, and also old people are more prone to being racist, so you know. So I can sneak up on him during what I need before anyone knows what happened. I usually need to take the edge off. He'll be fine. I should be strong enough to grab the old guy. I'm not going to risk snatch grab turning into a massacre. There are too many of them that will take any risk. I can't risk violating the masquerade. You know what? Fuck it, yeah. We're gonna sneak up on him and drain what you need, because we should be cool to stealth as a military person. You need to feed while you're still in control of your actions. You wait until the others wander into the storage room, taking most of the light with them, and glide towards the old man. You tell yourself afterwards that you probably would have had him. Oh fuck. Oh no. Oh no. A moment before you reach the old guy, you hear the young woman at the bathroom door shriek, and then you hear the crunch of bone. The old man turns and sees you and howls in terror. Before he can run, what's left of the young woman flies down the aisle, missing you by inches and splaying your face with blood, and knocks the old guy to the ground. He doesn't get up. You absolutely note that the woman's corpse is already drained of blood. Then you turn and confront the thing in the bathroom. The kindred of Clan Nosferatu, and they're beautiful. This one is particularly hideous. He's naked. stark naked and so tall he has to stoop to get out of the room, with a flattened skull and huge bat-like ears that make it impossible to imagine what he looks like in life. And then you look into his flat black eyes and realise there is nothing there. April 2007. In the end, we're weaker than they are, Julian says, watching a trio of teenagers across 7-Eleven parking lot. He sips blood from his extreme gulp, then uses it to gesture at the mortals. I mean, spiritually, we're weaker. We're like scurvy victims or something. We can't heal. The beast, you say. I'm not going to ask you what you've done in its grip, Julian says. What you've done on your own. I'm playing a beast for. But I know the beast will eat you if you're not careful. I'll eat your soul and live behind your eyes. When that happens to one of us, the camera calls them whites and hunts them down. And the Asamites, you ask? I don't know, Julian says. I never had the courage to ask. Oh my god, we should make Julian look fucking goofy. The Nosferatu, the mindless white that had once been a Nosferatu, spots you. But then it turns, and though you cannot see the tough-looking young guy and the old woman, you know that they're cornered in the storage room. As the dead woman's blood runs down its chin, the creature weighs its option. It turns towards the storage room, moving awkwardly because a huge iron chain is fastened around one of its legs. The something lashes out the darkness and the white rolls back, more in surprise than pain. The young man strikes the creature again with his crowbar. That won't be enough to fend off a monster like this. These people will be dead in moments, and then the fallen Nosferatu will turn its mindless rage on you. So we can protect the people. We can obviously get them to safety. We can use our road flares. Magnetism, which is our presence, and celerity, which I don't think we have. Our celerity is 1. Our presence is 1. So I feel like if you're a part of the brrr clan, you want to protect both the environment, and as a punk you want to protect normal everyday people. I say, we literally just almost went and during someone dry. So I'm thinking that we're going to use our knowledge of how this place is laid out and look for a way to get us to safety, because it's 7 a.m. I think. Yeah, okay, yeah. So you can't get around the whites to reach the window you crawl through. You don't have time to smash through a board, but you must be able to think this through and find another way. You rack your brain trying to start on some other way out, but there's nothing. No clever trip oh, fuck. Well, we fucked this. And then it's too late. As the white pulls on its chain, gets free, and then rips the man and the old woman to pieces, it emerges from the storage room, gorge and Renard, and all you can do is back away. It picks up the unconscious old man and throws him at you, but you duck, and his body bounces off the wall with a wet thud. Now swollen with blood, the white again turns its attention on you. Perhaps it considers you an interloper in the haven it has claimed. You topple a shelf, forcing the creature to work its way around the devastated room and buying you time to plan. The dead man's crowbar is useless against this hulking Nosferatu, but a broken mop on the ground might work. A wooden stake through the heart does not destroy a vampire, but it will paralyze one. The dead man also has your road flares. Waves on fire a wit and it will run screaming tonight. Well, if you have the courage to hold an open flame. The fighting has also badly damaged the convenience store ceiling. If you're quick, you might be able to climb up one of the remaining shells into the vent, but Nosferatu can't fit. Or, looking carefully, you realise how extensive the damage is. Maybe you can just bring the whole ceiling down. Whatever you do, you only have a few seconds to decide. The creature wants you gone, but it's so stupid and vicious that it will kill you if you try to leave the way you came. Now, are we gonna make our person do like the stupidest things ever? Because I feel like climbing into a climbing into a vent, and she'd be like, "Hi guys, guess what we're gonna do?" Ironically, it's just now started playing Nosferatu Warrants. You know what? Yeah, we know enough about craftsmanship. You know, we're military vet to pull an old roof down on a monster's head. Standing up, standing under, it will take more nerves and strength, but we can do it. Okay. So this building was fit to be condemned before you arrived, and 2 vampires going to town on each other hasn't improved its resale value. Huge sections of the ceiling have given way, exposing ventilation ducts and long dried water mains. But the weakest point, you think, is in the southwest corner, where water damage is plainly visible. When the white jumps for you, you dodge behind the shelf, climb up on it, and pull. It doesn't take much strength. It does take determination, however, as the monster reaches up and digs its sturdy black nails into your ankles, trying to rip you off the shelf. The monster's claws tear your flesh, but still you hold on. Then, suddenly, the whole section of the ceiling gives way. You land hard on the tiles and throw yourself behind the counter as concrete and steel tumble down into the room. You poke your head over the counter and wait for the concrete to stop falling. Finally, you creep towards the pile and move large pieces of rubbish. Rubble. One half of the thing's skull is caved in. It's trying to mend its flesh with the dead woman's blood and failing. The blood corrodes, flows out of its pores, spelling out gaping open wounds. But the flesh does not repair itself. The white is finished. At the cost of, 4 people who just wanted to escape. I like how these are both I'm not drinking vampire blood. I have standards, and then just this. So you pick your way through the ruined convenience store one last time, as the mangled white rise and smokes. It's clearly approaching final death, though you're not sure why. Nothing in its blood smells wrong. The Nosferatu could not have been here that long, so you examine the chain and the now ruined bathroom for clues about where it came from. But there's nothing recent, just old trash. Your hunger is still a dull ache in your teeth, and you're still in control. For now. You look down at the dying Nosferatu. I want his soul, his powers. So we've got... Obviously smelling it, drinking vampire blood is low. I don't care. I want his soul. I want his powers. The blood is power. Drink directly from the same vampire 3 times and you bow to them. A slave of the blood, a servant of the will. Vampire blood on the lips of a fresh corpse creates a new vampire. Feed a live human and you create a ghoul. A living but unaging thrall that soon grows bound to you. Many sires bind their children to them, and whatever you feel for Padamuster, you are thankful that he did not. Vampire blood is dangerous stuff. Drink enough and you'll steal what passes for the vampire's very soul. The Camarilla calls it diabolity, considered a crime worse than murder. You and Julian... Your brain recalls from the memory. Julian is gone. He's probably dust by now, and no one knows what you two did together. Still, what other chance will you have? You drive your fangs into Nosferatu's rubbery skin and start to drink. But the blood is revolting and oily, resonant with fear, pain, and insanity. But though you concentrate on the power locked inside the switch, you cannot choke down the vile blood. You rise with a ragged gasp and spit out a mouthful of dirty blood, getting on stench. Before you can try again, the mad thing crumbles in on itself and dissolves into gore and filth. That was unpleasant, but you do still feel the power inside of you. A single heartbeat sends blood flashing through your limbs. The endless hunger retreats, a dull murmur instead of howling roar. You check your iPhone. It's broken. You take out the SIM card and destroy it, then destroy the spares you carry. You wear a watch because sunrise is never far from your mind, and yes, that's broken too. Then you check your satchel, but the USBs are all there, all safe. Sated for the moment, you check yourself again in the cracked glass of the empty display case. There's blood on your hands and face and clumps of gore in your hair, and your shirt and jeans are in tatters. You try to sink in the bathroom, but the water has been shut off for years. After a few minutes, you find some cleaning supplies. Why there are people wooing outside. Being dead, you don't worry too much as you scrape blood off your face with a sponge. After a few minutes, you look like an escaped mental patient, but not like a Romero zombie. No one in their right mind would pick you up as a hitchhiker, but you might be able to reach town. You head back to where you left your car, but it's gone. Instinctively, you check the satchel one more time, but everything is there. Everything that just happened was a distraction, someone else's problem. You've reached the outskirts of Tuscan before dawn, and from there make your way to the New Prince's Court. just deliver these USBs and you'll make enough money for a new car. You'll be able to keep doing this night after the night. You start walking. Ooh. I actually don't know how many chapters are in this. I'm also not going to look because obviously, like, I don't want to spoil it for us. But I just want to have a super quick drink. We could do a superhero one after this. It'd be quite funny. Or so I might play after we've kind of like gone through most of this. Well, depending on what time it is. I might play a bit of Among Us because I got a video idea and I want to do it, but obviously, like, sorry, I need to check. Just quickly get rid of my alarm because it's gonna go off any second now. Turn off your upcoming alarm. Who's getting the drink? So, yeah. So I have an idea for Among Us, possibly, but we'll see how this goes. But anyway, we're now in Tucson, obviously Arizona. Sunrise is at 6:42 a.m. and our feet hurt. We already passed the place you were supposed to stay yesterday, but it's just an empty garage. There's nothing there for you. An hour before dawn, you reach the chain link fences and industrial parks that mark the outskirts of Tucson. You can see cheap stucco houses up ahead, but the burbs are no place for a vampire. Without a cell phone or money, and with clothes too trash for polite company, you revert to skills you honed in your shadows years after Padamuster abandoned you, before you slithered back into undead society. When you find an abandoned semi-trailer in a factory parking lot, you note that the high walls should keep the worst of the heat off. You check it for holes in the ceiling. Finding none, you crawl inside. You spend the day with your brain screaming terror and your body paralysed as trucks and factory machines move all around you. Someone actually moves the trailer, which you're sure hasn't been moved in years. They drag it into the sun, so you spend the day boiling in a metal box under Arizona's daytime heat. The moment the sun sets, you throw open the door, and even though people are still working, flee into the night. This is what unlife is. Some nights are good, some are like this. Maybe there's a clean place to sleep at the end of the road. You've seen loads of kindred, twisted Nosferatu, incredibly mad Malkavians, and lower still, screaming in terror as they face their final death. And you're doing better than them. Well, because you're not dust. This is better than nothing, right? You can still walk, so you kick some black filth off your rude boots, check your USBs, and get walking. You're going to have to replace your satchel, which hangs in tatters on your shoulder. You never wanted to come back to Tucson. It's been a black spot on your personal map for years. But here you are. You have to avoid the good neighbourhoods, the big stucco houses on their little plots of land with their raked out front yards of blue recycling bins. For a few minutes, a black and white Mustang with a thin blue line Punisher decal on the hood creeps behind you in first gear. You can't tell if it's an actual police car or some kind of patriot group, but you cut through a park where they can't follow. There's a public bathroom there, which you might be able to clean up a little. The mirror is cracked and someone's shit in the urinal, but the water works. You spend a few minutes scraping trash off, then look around for either threats or opportunities. Your hunger is a gnawing distraction in the back of your mind, but you can still think. And you find yourself thinking, where are all the junkies? It's not like it's a nice park. You lurk in the shadows for a few minutes, just to remember what it's like, but you don't see anyone. That's when you recognise where you are. This abandoned building was the lair of Lupago, a thing of legend that was probably one of the kindred, though no one knows for sure. A shape-shifting monstrosity destroyed by hunters as the Second Inquisition rose to power and began the dreadful crusade against all vampires. She might have been a monster, but there aren't many creatures left like her. Just a obedient little kindred with that imagination. I wish I could have seen her. The age of wonder is always passing, isn't it? You are immortal. Must you spend eternity in stuffy little rooms trading bonds mod with stuffed corpses? Which reminds you, the Elysium awaits. Elysium is one of the defining ideas of Camarilla. It is a neutral meeting ground where violence and the use of vampire powers is forbidden. In many Elysiums, kindred are allowed to exist as they are, not as the masquerade demands they be. The Tucson Elysium is located on the roof of a nightclub called the Viper. You can hear the pounding industrial music from the parking lot, but you're not here for the party. You've been outside the Viper before, but never in and never up. You scan the rooftop and wonder whether to approach first or try to hunt. It's bad form to arrive in Elysium hungry, but hunting nearby is often forbidden since it attracts notice. An eagle settles on a fire escape. You remember the way that eagle looked at you a few nights ago, and you suspect it's the way in. You follow it up the fire escape, trying to ignore the hunger that has you gnawing on your lip. You don't know what shadow art this place employs, but you reach the top step and the empty-looking rooftop of the Viper disappears, replaced by a sprawling patio covered in cacti and desert shrubs. Footpaths lead you through a secret garden, and small stone bridges across narrow rivulets of cold-flowing water. From here, the lights of Tuscan are invisible, and the night sky is the way it is deep in the desert, shades of purple and blue and black, with the Milky Way brighter than you've ever seen it. It's quiet up here, but the music from the nightclub below vibrates through the trash soles of your boots as you cross the flagstones. Your fellow kindred watch you with disgust, as your boots leave a crumbly trail of black dirt. But you size them up quickly and dismiss them just as quickly. The weak Camarilla fledglings and neonates. Ghouls, dead-eyed mortal servitors, and blood dolls. You look around for someone important. The eagle flies past you and lands beside a young-looking man in a linen suit with turquoise jewelry. He's conversing in worried tones with a Nosferatu, a particularly hideous example of the clan, whose face is a death's head of great black muscle, as if her skin has been peeled away. Her monstrous face contrasts with her striking and powerful physique. Blood. I need blood. No, we're going to examine our fellow kindred. We've never been to the Tuscan Elysium, and we kind of want to know what sort of monster flyers and sons of bitches we're up against. Well, the simplest way to classify the kindred is by clan. The blood youth with the turquoise jewelry commands that eagle, an art practiced by only a few clans. And since he's too pretty to be a Nosferatu, you guess he's probably clan Gangrel. The Nosferatu with a skinless face is easy to identify, though Nosferatu tells you nothing of her loyalty to nature. Those two are the only ones who are definitely kindred. You feel undead eyes watching you from elsewhere, but you cannot be sure who here is like you. Who is a ghoul granted long life and cursed with addiction to vampire blood, and who is a mere servitor. They're all broken through repeated mental compulsions. As you glance around, the eagle caws, beckoning you. Yo, he kind of pretty though. Found our first romance. The man in turquoise jewelry watches your approach with a slight smile. He's seated comfortably in a wicker chair next to a small zinc table with an old laptop, a white hat, and a heap of typed and handwritten correspondence. The Nosferatu standing beside him only scowls. Oh, how the fuck am I? Just speaks like too like. No, welcome to Tuscune, he says. His accent is foreign from somewhere in Europe, despite the Native American jewelry and the wide-brimmed hat in front of him. I am Prince Littell. This is Dove, and you are Pyra, he says. The courier, it looks like you had a difficult journey. A clump of mud falls out of your hair and splashes onto the flagstone. Give us the data, rebel. That hurts so bad. The Nosferatu snaps. Please do not let her have more lines. Dove is wearing a silkscreen jacket, kicked around Converse All-Stars, and a snapback with a local minor league baseball team on it. Driving gloves are tucked into her pocket. Another courier? Dove sounds like the sort of Camarilla lapdog who needs to get yanked around. So, Dove, do you have a dove? Like this guy has an eagle? Does everyone get a bird? Okay, to be fair, she kind of pretty in like a skeleton way. The Nosferatu glares down at you, but the prince seated beside her only laughs, his tone warm and friendly. Dove has little interest in the creatures of the night. Her dark gift maintains this Elysium. he says, but she's most useful for what she knows. And right now she wants to know what those USBs hold. I imagine you do too. You've yanked her around enough, so you set the USBs on Prince Latal's table. Thank you, Pyre, he says. Latal's laptop is an old Asus, probably intended to read information once before it's destroyed. When the prince inserts the USB, a folder appears with a video and a few text files. Feel free to watch, Pyre, Latal says. He checks his back on Constantine. It's 1:49 a.m. Then he looks east. He stares for a long time, as if with longing, and then shakes his head. I don't think this interests you directly, but I try not to keep secrets here in Tuscun. A warm, friendly smile and eyes that watch you like a... Wait, where did that bird go? The video opens awkwardly, with a hand holding a webcam. You see a man's face, and then you see the ritual chamber. Why does that look like, Call Me Kevin's... Like one of Call Me Kevin's... Okay, that's quite funny. It literally looks like Call Me Kevin's character. Tremere, the warlocks, the usurpers, once a clan of sorcerers and blood magicians. Their discipline and interclan loyalty are admired even by their enemies. The Tremere are now scattered leaderless after the destruction of the greatest chantry in Vienna. You might have fallen low over the past few years, but not so low as the warlocks. You don't recognise this Tremere. He's white and apple-cheeked with a short grey beard. Portly in a way vampires rarely are, like an avuncular college professor. He's wearing a Fair Isle sweater vest and pressed slacks, and holding a silver knife with one hand as he tries to adjust the webcam with the other. It's Jasper Knowles, Tremor Magus, Latal says conversationally. Do you know him? My job is making deliveries, Prince Latal. I don't get involved. Latal watches you closely as you answer. Tongue against his cheek, concentrating. He thinks you know something, but you've never seen this Tremere. Duff gas. Knowles has stepped away from the webcam, revealing a dingy cinder block room with faded orange stripes on the wall, and Nosferatu chained to an iron spike in the floor. You destroyed that Nosferatu the other night. Dove whispers. Prince Latal's illusion of good cheer falters for a moment. Both he and the eagle glare at Dove. You're here so he can get a read on you, not so his underling can give you information. I give up on voices. This experiment's just gone on for as long as it can, Noel says in the video. Science sometimes ends in failure, my dear. And so does our version of it. No intelligence remains in the specimen, and it's become increasingly dangerous and aggressive. Once it's destroyed, I'll send what's left to you. I'm also going to wrap up my daytime business. I know that we are still allowed to communicate via email as flesh and blood citizens, but my mortal identity is almost 80 years old, and soon people wonder... Something off-screen draws Noel's attention. He turns a knife, ready to insert it into his wrist. Perhaps to use blood magic? Unfortunately for Knowles, he's looking the wrong way. As he stares past the webcam, a figure detaches itself from the shadows of the wall, walks almost casually up to the chained-up Nosferatu and removes its shackles. The rest of the video is chaos. The white hurls itself at Knowles. The Tremere screams and stumbles into the webcam, which falls. Sorcerer's fire blackens the ceiling. Deadly fists rise and fall again and again. Unlike most Tremere, Knowles has mastered the vampiric act of inhuman resilience, but that only makes his destruction longer and more horrible. Then, the video ends. What was up with the figure that freed the Nosferatu? Why can I see it clearly? You've never seen Knowles before, Leto says. He sounds frustrated. Dove, go back. Who was that shadow? You watch it again, but the shadow is just a blur of formless motion. An impressive disguise, Leto says thoughtfully, freeze framing on the blur. The assassin doesn't even move fast at first. There's just nothing there but a smear. Almost as impressive as this rooftop. And what happened to the Nosferatu? Did he escape? He rolls the video back and forth, trying to get a better view of the white. Then He seems to remember you. He reaches into a bag at his feet and hands you a manila envelope, then goes back to scrolling around. $1,000 in 20s. Your job is done. Well, you know the answer to Leto's question, of course. The Eagle Prince's gaze wanders again. He looks east over the skyline of Tuscoon. You know what? I keep my mouth shut. I owe them nothing. After a moment of troubled silence, Dove says, "He's dead out there somewhere. I'll find him, my prince, and destroy him." "See that you do," Leto says. "It will reflect poorly on your clan to have a monster like him shambling around." His voice goes cold. "You have 7 nights, Dove." Well, you have too many questions. The most obvious is, why did Prince Leto let you watch the video? Princes are secretive and paranoid creatures. And even in these nights when the true elders have sunken into torpor or fled to the old world, even a young prince like Letal has survived centuries of betrayal and revolution. Princes don't tolerate risk. That means either Letal's situation here are unstable, or worse, he already knows a great deal about you and has accounted for you. "Pyro, I have more work for you," the Prince of Tuscan says. "You will remain here tonight. My man Alexander will provide you with shelter, sustenance, and suitable clothing, and hose you down, obviously. I apologize if he treats you like a horse, but he misses horses." What the fuck? Alexander is a small and sallow man with a gleaming bald head. He wears an oversized grey suit like a refugee from some 20th century war. He does not smile, which is for the best, since you see that his teeth are grey. Follow me," Alexander says. His accent is thick and his breath is acidic, like bile. Okay, he just looks like a mob, dude. He looks like he's about to, shoot me down where I stand. But an old ghoul. Kindred grow strange and cold as they age, but old blood slaves are stranger still, and sometimes more dangerous. With that settled, Alexander says, "you should drink." He taps a code into a locked case and takes out a tall flute of blood. The Eagle Prince apologizes for this crude repast, but he does not trust new guests around his herd when they are so hungry. And you must understand that he cannot trust every new arrival. You drain the glass and feel the blood sparkle through your veins. Well, room temperature blood, even when treated not spoil, lacks savour and resonance. You wonder if having to drink the stuff is a punishment or a test. When you're done, you are still hungry. After a shower, I just want to lean back a bit. After a shower, the servant leads you back to a glass observation room, above the club's main dance room, where a selection of clothing is waiting, and you realise that Prince Letal is giving you gifts. That isn't good. You know what happens if you end up in debt to a prince. "Please, you must dress for the Elysium. The Eagle Prince insists." You glance at the clothes on display. Letal isn't exactly draping you in Armani, at least. You see a mix of work clothes, streetwear. Nothing to upmarket. You don't see any bloodstains either. Okay, so we are... What if I need to go clubbing? I need streetwear so I don't look like an old person. Yeah, no, we're going clubwear. You were a little too young for the punk scene when you were alive, and now you're old enough that you're starting to worry about looking like a fossil. You still remember some of the brrr you knew when you were first embraced, the neonates who still wore leisure suits. The Second Inquisition probably took care of them. So, no goth, no punk, no Edwardian steampunk costumes. You flip through the clothes until you find something actually modern streetwear. Grey hoodie, nylon pants, Adidas, a shell jacket in case it gets cold, and a nylon messenger bag. You check yourself in the mirror. You look normal. Well, you look like a living person. Good. Living people don't wear watches as often as they used to, but you've never been surprised by sunrise yet, and you plan to keep it that way. Nick's on Regulus completes the ensemble. He just sounds like a chav, I'm not gonna lie. But you ascend metal stairs and thump with the base of the EDM below, back up to the rooftop Elysium. Latal's the eagle watches you. A gangrel prince is unusual, even in these nights. You wonder where Latal came from, and you wonder what he wants with you. He is still watching the video and reviewing whatever information they got from the USB. Dove is scanning the parking lot below. You will be remaining with us for some time, Alexander says. You understand what this means, yes? Well, of course you understand what will happen if you try to flee. You look towards the parking lot too. You need a car. We are very friendly people in Tuscun, Alexander says, finally smiling. It's an awful sight. Little grey rat teeth, skin that crinkles like paper. Not like other cities, you may know. Speak to people about what you need. Dove was like you once. She drove. You need a car? She has cars. Her retainer, Carlos, is the one listening to the music from below. Can we kill him? Wait, why the fuck did it... What the fuck was that? Oh, it's because Rambo. I just got noticed that Rambo was going live. He has, you know, rooms, stashes of the shit. Is that what it said? He keeps evidence rooms with the good shit. Maybe you need that sort of man. He is proud and cruel though. Do not let him bait you. Carlos spots you and Alexander looking at him and gives you the finger. And if you need blood? Alexander says, I was a doctor in my youth. When I was young, I said to my teachers, this bleeding, it does not work. It does not make the patients better. Isn't that funny, knowing what I know now? A little joke. But I have an important job. When Kindred feed and kill and endanger a masquerade, I tell Prince Latar. I hate telling him those things. I would prefer a Kindred came to me for advice. I will give you this advice now. Do not hunt near the viper. It is not permitted. And, of course, do not use your gift here. The sudden movement of blood, it upsets Dove. Okay, so, well, it's how it's kind of cute. I'm gonna talk to him and see if there's anyone else in his life. This just seems funny to me. When you approach Prince, Latal closes his laptop and rises cordially. He's tall and slim, his face and hair both silvery in the moonlight. It's dangerous to chat up an elder. Latal is more approachable than other princes you've met. Less explicitly monstrous. And there's something lonely about him. You get the impression that he's frustrated to be tied down in this place. It's strange to exist again in a time of ignorance, Pyre. When I was new dead, the Commonwealth was still a land of darkness and superstition. Well, I'm sorry. We have only just met, haven't we? And I'm talking to you like I'm picking up a thread of an old story. Let me start at the beginning. I died about the same time my country did, around when the United States was fighting King George III. Most Americans know nothing of these events, of course. I was held in little esteem when I came to Arizona, especially by the Ventru, who ruled here at the time. But when the old prince went mad, attacking the other clans and getting himself destroyed, there were few elders left who had not already fled. And so I became prince in the new Dark Age, brought about by the Second Inquisition, and our fear justified. It turns out of being tracked through these devices. He taps the laptop case. And in between, you ask? Prince Latal skipped over about 200 years there. A story for another time, Perry, the prince says with a secret smile. There's some kind of dispute in the parking lot down below. 3 women yelling at a guy. Dove gestures and 2 heavies head downstairs to sort it out. So... I talked to Returning Carlos about equipment and a place to stay. I've been far too proud lately. If I have to beg this guy for what I need, I'll do it. Then again... Actually, no. I examined Latal's eagle. How fascinating. Hey, bestie. Please don't punch any customers. I mean, you can if you want, but you'll get fired, so just stay safe. Also, there we go. Perfect. So we examine Lascelles' eagle. How fascinating and how dangerous. We also approve because eagles are badass. Her name is Riga, Prince Latal says. I named her after a city I always wanted to visit. The prince gestures for the eagle, who hops onto his wrist. He holds the huge raptor aloft easily, right next to his eye. We kindled a comforting a new dark age, the prince says. Riga is my light in the darkness. I see what she sees. The Ventro who like to imagine they rule the Camarilla have lost 2 clans now, including mine, because they can only give orders. They cannot listen. They cannot understand what their subjects want. The clan kings never understood that a prince is not a king. Latal shrugs, and Riga returns to her cactus. Or maybe I'm wrong, he says. Maybe I'll end up staked, left for the sun, when the wheel turns again. But I've tried to offer Tuscan something better than the old prince. 2 more kindred arrive from the dance floor, skin slick from other people's sweat, craning their dazed-looking blood dolls. Prince Latal narrows his eyes at this vulgar display, but says nothing. You know what? We'll talk to the mortal servitors and hang on. There are many servants here, not just well-placed ghouls like Alexander and Carlos. You circle among the servants, most like the dead-eyed stare of those broken by relentless men. Oh god. Hang on, sorry. I think they tried to, I think my people that were trying to deliver tried to call me, but I never answer the phone. And so, hang on. Oh, they sent me fucking dumb pepper. Oh, that's fine, whatever. Okay, that's fine. So, there are many servants here, not just well-placed ghouls like Alexander and Carlos. You circle among the servants, most like the dead-eyed stare of those broken by relentless mental domination. Well, that makes sense. Prince Latal is a gangrel, and his mental powers might only extend to animals. But judging from the elegant pallor of many of these servants, you suspect that they're blood dolls. Walking food, addicted to the kiss. Well, like blood dolls everywhere, they linger because the touch of the undead is the only pleasure left to them. So, Latal's servants might be stronger-willed than the brainwashed thralls of a Ventry prince, but only by a little. Interesting. Whatever was happening in the parking lot below has sorted itself out. The heavies are back upstairs laughing. You memorize their names and faces in case there's trouble later. Then circle the Elysium for a few minutes, getting a feel for the place. You can't believe you're back in touch soon. You wonder if anyone recognized you. Beyond the rooftop, the city lights appeared dim and washed out as if seen through a black veil. Red brake lights from the highway looked like a sluggish trail of blood. Just call her! That's Dove speaking in hushed but anxious tones to Prince Latal. You can't quite hear the rest of the conversation, but then the prince's genial smile vanishes. Dove withers at whatever he says next. Then the eagle swings its golden eyes back towards you. Yeah, pleasure, Prince Latal says. I told you that I would have work for you. I need to send some emails, and that is not as easy as it once was. Come here. Oh dear God, we're romancing an elderly man. You were still a fledgling when the Second Inquisition burned through centuries of Camarilla power. Places like Vienna Chantry, arcane fortresses of Clan Tremere. You weren't important enough to draw the Second Inquisition's attention. Well, they've been quiet for years, quite enough that some kindred are starting to use phones and emails to conduct their night to work again, cutting into your business. But, you know, they're fools. The Second Inquisition was never beaten. The Inquisition is just collecting information now, waiting for an opportunity to strike again. Prince Latal does not want to give them an opportunity. You come highly recommended, and I hate to see a proud man of Clan Bruja brought low by circumstances. I need you to run letters to a few cities near Tuscan. Don't worry, nothing is more than a single night's trip. Why not use your magic word? Well, She's so charming. Flirting openly with an elder might be stupidly dangerous, but Littell is charming. Littell smiles, either genuinely delighted or cynically calculating how to exploit his interest. But before he can choose his words, Dove turns to you and says, I can't do her voice again. It hurts. Prince Littell doesn't need your commentary, whelp. The prince laughs warmly and says, but we all need their help. Here in these difficult nights, and we can pay $1,000 for the first delivery. More later, based on your performance and how much you've impressed my court. In addition, my man Alexander will prize you vessels. You may hunt freely in any of the other cities you visit while making your runs. I don't trust you, Prince Littell. Don't try to betray me. The prince is too secure in his power to rise to your bait. Instead of doing something so vulgar as baring his fangs, he just smiles and says, this is honest work for honest pay, Potter. He hands you a printout marked with 3 locations, 3 faces. You recognize one face instantly. It's your sire, Patermaster. It looks like a new photo. His dark face looks thin and haunted. You don't recognize 2 women. 3 people need to know about the final death. 3 people need to know about the final death of Jasper Knowles and the mysterious circumstance around what happened to Reanimator's child. He points to each face in turn. Nvidia Cole worked closely with Jasper after she escaped to New York and showed up here. When Clan Tremere fell apart, so did their working relationship, but she needs to know about his destruction. She also needs to know that, without Jasper Knowles' considerable private wealth funding her, she can no longer sustain her research and she must return to Tuscoon. Should we tell her that she'll go crazy when she finds out? Dove asks the prince. I'd been meaning to get around to that, Dove, yes, Prince Littell says. Potter, deliver my letter and get out. You won't like Dr. Cole's reaction when she realizes she's broke. The thing must be destroyed is poor form prince. If you can't survive a grumpy witch, Dove says, crossing her strong arms over her chest, you kind of don't belong in this job. Littell points to Patermaster next. Your sire currently lurks in St. Basil's Hospital in Phoenix, looking after the lost lambs of our flock. Are the rebel, the clanless, thin bloods, the bad ones, maybe even Gangrel? Littell chuckles at his own wits. But he actually keeps them in line, though they are dangerously lax. In fact, I would like you to encourage a bit more tidiness from the not open feeding, no drug running, no unauthorized embraces, that sort of thing. This is not a formal mission, you understand, but if you can make our dissatisfaction known, I would appreciate it. But more important, with Nose gone, the hospital will be up for renovation. Those renovations will compromise St. Basil's usefulness as a haven. I'll write instructions for what Patermaster needs to do. So that's where Patermaster ended up, shepherding thin bloods and drinking the blood out of the sick. Seems you've both fallen quite a way. Yeah, we're gonna do that, but we're getting paid. Eager little rebel, aren't they? Dove says, oh, that's sweet. Lila glances at the sickening pond and continues. Finally, the venture Aileen Olicrona is a surviving camp in Sierra Blanca, Texas. You may remember her from that excitement a few years ago. Lila was referring to the final death of the old Prince Tuscoon, a powerful blue blood manipulated into launching a crusade of purification against his clan's old rivals, including your own clan. She has since returned to the Camarilla's good graces, since she provides much of the Southwest with blood. But her operation exists atop a mortal substructure that is profoundly politically unstable. Jasper Knowles' destruction will further destabilize that situation, and she needs to know how. Yeah, we don't want to get dragged into politics. Personal tale continues while you contemplate what kind of political snarl some blue blood could drag you into. Anyway, 3 deliveries.
A grand each. You are welcome to feed in Tuscun and every city you visit for a year after finishing your final delivery, Lethal says. Though you'll have to abide by my rules for neonates here in Tuscun. My man Alexander will explain once we're finished here. I also give you permission to own property and to create no more than one ghoul. They may not embrace new kindred. I take this for emergencies, and only for emergencies. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must compose the letters you are to deliver. I thought, okay. The prince moves to a writing desk under a Ramada, leaving the pile of electronic devices and written correspondence, and gets to work composing his message. You sit down nearby to disable the phone's GPS and get rid of everything that could be used to track you, leaving the device even more stripped down than it began. Yeah, we're gonna lie. Misrepresent ourselves while acting grandiose in order to make allies. So there are more kindred here now than when you first arrived. Not just Dove, but another Nosferatu unrelated to Rue Mouse. An ecstatic-looking Toreador dripping with other people's sweat from dance floor, Pretzl-Tail's Malkavian Oracle, and a few scummy-looking venture in $3,000 suits. Because this is Camarilla, and they come with the furniture. Lodar has a small army of blood slaves, but you learn from whispered gossip that none have proven worthy of the embrace. You give the kindred, ghouls, and dead-eye blood dolls the sort of lies they crave. These are Lodal's pets, trapped in a gilded cage of the Camarilla, and they enjoy stories of desperate escapes and sudden violence, which you can provide. But as they start to ask you more detailed questions, you carefully back off. No use getting caught so soon. The kindred here keep disappearing downstairs, but you're sure you're not allowed to feed them in the Elysium. Your palms itch, you can't stay here. You need to see what this city has to offer. As if sensing your mood, Alexander returns, his approach heralded by his reeking breath. You are hungry? Yes. The prince is curious about you, so you may feed freely tonight. After that, return to me. One thing only. Do not feed on the sleeping. The descendants of the old prince must feed that way, and they do not like competition. You lean in over the edge of the railing, looking down at Tuscun. For years, you've taken blood wherever you could, usually as payment for a job. But most vampires your age hunt, and most of them specialize. Before you became a courier, you two had a specialty. You think back to those years of Padamuster, before you drove the night roads to perpetuate your existence. You try to remember the skills you developed to feed. Yeah, from people in the scene. Before your embrace, the kindred hid it in and maintained a complex overlapping counterculture of musicians, artists, political philosophers, and cultural hangers-on. This was a deliberate artifice, a counterculture of convenience, used by the undead to hide their activities. Various occult, spiritual, romantic, and bohemian movements fulfill similar functions in previous decades. But the world is more diffused now, without much of a mainstream culture for a counterculture to react to. By the time you joined the ranks of the undead, that old counterculture's vitality had bled out into indie rock, steampunk fashion, and a dozen other places. But goth isn't dead, not where the kindred walk. You return to where you got your new street clothes and grab everything cheap and black that Alexander won't miss. You can mix and match on your way there. Even half disabled to prevent tracking, your cheap flip phone turns off a dozen hits for goth club around Tuscun. You walk to the nearest one. Peter Murphy's Strange Kind of Love hits you like a wall of hammer as you enter. The music hasn't changed, but you think the bass technology has gone better. It feels like your eyeballs are jiggling. It's about... One kid is trying to shout to another over the music right next to your ear. It's about Gorilla Grodd's romance with Monster O'Malley. I said it's about Gorilla. This will not do. You cross the dance floor and find a quiet corner against the poster-encrusted wall where you can sit. Order a drink you won't touch and contemplate your next move. You're not here for sex, but the hunt is an aesthetic experience for you nonetheless. I really hope this doesn't get not safe for work. Tonight, it'll be whoever catches my eye. He doesn't look like one of those kids you passed. He's older with a touch of grey in his beard and dark, piercing eyes. He's wearing a tight black turtleneck, tight black pants, very functional, not trying to impress. But you see the way his eyebrow quirks up when he sits down across from you. He wants to impress you. Wait, oh shit, is he another vampire? That's happened before. It's always so embarrassing. Should you ask? You've kind of been out of the game for long enough that you're not really sure. It's usually the same faces here, he says, night after night. You try not to smile as the guy tries to affect the eternal boredom of the undead. He's just playing. Well, you can play at being a vampire too, and that's exactly what you do. Smiling at him with your entirely young face. It strikes you that you're about his age. He enjoys the role playing for all the wrong reasons. Then asks where you go to school. You look like you go to college, right? You did in your 20s, for Christ's sake. Do you look like a high schooler? Maybe the light here makes you look younger. Instead of answering, you nod for him to get up. He smiles, rises graciously. Guys like this are always gracious until they can't get what they want, and leads you into a hallway of padded black walls. Here, you'd expect to lose a car ride somewhere nice. Whatever, at least it's quiet. Your fangs come out before he can turn around. He jerks helplessly for a second in your embrace, then loses himself to the kiss. His arms limp at his sides. You can't vouch for this guy's personality, but his blood is exquisite. You force yourself to stop. He just stands there, dazed and ecstatic, as you grab him one last time and run your tongue across his throat, just under his salt and pepper beard, to make the puncture wounds vanish. He won't remember a thing. Leave him standing there, facing the wall. I just imagine this dude, like, everyone's just, like, making out as they're walking past to get to their car and stuff, and there's just this dude, like, bold-faced Blair witching it, just in a corner, like, where am I? Who am I? It won't always be that easy. You think as you sit on a park bench, sluggishly moving your stolen blood around your body. New vampires can always have fun for the first few nights, but then other kindred learn about your tricks, or hunters notice statistical anomalies, while the herd itself instinctively reacts to the invisible predator in their midst. But tonight, you feel good. A Lotus Sprite Turbo and Powder Blue rolls up the curb, blowing synthwave loud enough to scare the crows. The driver flings a parcel your way. When you pick it up, he peels out. The parcel contains a card for a pawn shop, and on the back, cars. There's also an extended stay ticket for a parking garage, with a 4-digit key code written on the back. So it looks like you have a place to park. Even after midnight, it feels dangerous to run across the wide palm tree lined boulevard that leads to your destination. You need a car. You're itching like earlier when you needed blood. Only now, the need is to move fast, to stop fighting the shape of the city, and start flowing through it the way it wants you to. By the end of tonight, you either need to buy a car or learn how to turn into a bat, because Tucson is no place for pedestrians. Covenant Pawn Shop is wedged between an auto repair shop and a nail salon, across from a Titlemax. Signs read cash for guns, we buy gold, and close. You step into the sad, dusty spiritual void of the pawn shop. You pass PS4 games, bedazzled purses, a glass case full of rings, regalo perfecto, and enough rifles to conquer Belgium. The first thing you do is stock up on a few necessities of your trade. A few duffel bags and rucksacks, a mini crowbar, a small folding knife, folding shovel, a hacksaw, some lockpicks, matches, cord, electrician's tape, a flashlight, a blood and tissue kit, spare USBs, and a portal toolkit. You stop at the knives because you recognise a silver knife in one display case. Jasper Knowles was holding it before he was killed. Maybe it's just a knockoff of some movie prop or something, you can't be sure. That is kind of weird. Yo, she pretty. Women. Behind the display case of knives is a pretty young woman with choppy blonde hair and Victorian replica railway glasses. She's peered over those sunglasses to watch you like a hawk. Since you pushed past the clothesline and walked in, you know that reaction. She recognises a predator, but doesn't exactly know what kind. So this place is only tangentially connected to the Tuxedo Camarilla. It and she are independent and kept their way because they're useful. When you get closer, the young woman leaves close, studying your streetwear. Her bare arms are covered in H.R. Geiger tattoos, sinuous biomechanical figures in shades of black, grey and green. Finally, she says, Miguel sent you. It's not quite a question and not quite a statement. You kind of have no idea who Miguel is. Maybe one of Dove's servitors? Whatever. You nod. Call me Elena. Let's get you set up. She throws a red leather jacket on over her tattoos. She makes sure you can see the Glock in the shoulder holster. The cars are waiting out back. A rusted chain link fence divides Covenant's pawn shop's parking lot from a row of rusted Quonset huts. The huts and the slightly taller buildings on either side serve to hide a full parking lot of parked cars that probably shouldn't be here. Miguel says you need wheels, Elena says. She steps into the shadows and starts messing around on her phone, but she keeps her eyes on you above the railway glasses. These cars are shit. Miguel either hates your guts or doesn't care if your mission for the Prince Latal succeeds or fails. You instantly dismiss the vans, economy cars, and anything covered in rust or that would require more cash to repair than buy. That leaves you with 4 mediocre specimens. A Mitsubishi 3000 GT with too many aftermarket mods, a little Honda S2000 with electrical problems, an ancient but still rolling BMW 3 Series, and an ugly but functional Nissan Frontier. Prices are as listed inside and out. Elena says. She props the back door open. Well, for 900. So we're probably just going to go straight for the Nissan Frontier. It's got 3 durability. Yeah, that's fine. So the pickup is the newest vehicle on the lot in your price range, though that isn't saying much. It's ugly on the outside, rust-stained and salt-streaked. Did someone drive this thing down from Manitoba? It's not particularly fast, and even though it's fairly new, you know it's going to turn like a 53 Mercury. But all that post-2000 patches of safety know-how counts as nothing. Pound for pound, the Frontier is as tough as the little BMW. And the Frontier has a lot more pounds. If you find yourself rolling into a gunfight, across broken rocks, or back in time to fight Vlad the Impaler's heavy infantry, this is the vehicle for you. And it's black. You take this and around the parking lot, then around this block a few times with Elena riding shotgun. There's plenty of room in here if you ever need to transport something bigger than a manila envelope, like a sarcophagus. This Nissan is perfect. Still, the driving experience is viscerally unpleasant. It's floaty and slow, the visibility isn't as great as you were expecting, and you think something is wrong with the electrical, because it doesn't feel like the power steering works right. You're going to hate driving this thing, but it drives. Okay, maybe go with the BMW. With this car, you can party like it's 1985, because you're pretty sure it was built in 1985. The exterior is gunmetal grey, and inside the leather is dry and cracked, like it's suffering from some kind of foot disease. It smells like tobacco, the AC doesn't work, and the back seats are torn and patched with duct tape. But the bones of the car are excellent. The engine is clean, and it's as fast as the 2 sports cars, almost as manoeuvrable as a modern vehicle. And more importantly, it is tough as nails. This thing can survive your ergonomics and glasnost. It can survive whatever you crash into. You take it out around the parking lot, then around the block a few times with $700. How much is the Mitsubishi? So the Mitsubishi is $500 and it has decent speed. So this was a blistering fast car for its price point back in its day. But its day has passed. Still, the Mitsubishi is a big, muscular GTO with excellent acceleration and handling that is, at least, adequate. And it's blood red inside and out. The problem starts when you check under the hood. You can't tell if the circular thing is supposed to be a turbo or some kind of prototype rumba from the Clinton administration. But it's all fucked up, whatever it is. The electrical is an over-engined nightmare too. When you take the car out for a spin with Elena riding shotgun, Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff almost blows your eardrums out. You can't figure out how to stop the CD from playing, so Elena just pops the whole CD player out with a screwdriver. The acceleration is good, but the turbo is wheezy and unpredictable. I'll throw in the corn CDs on the sun visor for free. One of them is live at Woodstock 99. and then we got the Honda. So realistically, we're gonna probably go for the Nissan Frontier. Like, it drives like shit, but yeah, you know what? You know what, let's chat her up for a sec. So is that a, what are they called? A Klingon knife? Attached tick? No. And you can't afford it. It's solid silver for killing werewolves, I guess. Her tone says she doesn't believe in werewolves. Wait, Christ, are there werewolves in Tuscune? Maybe you should buy it. And I'm not selling it anyway, because I think the guy who sold it might actually come back, she says. She unlocks the case and hands you the crooked silver blades. This has to be the one the Trevor was holding in the video. Alana goes back to messing around on her phone. You know what? I'm well educated and know my way around finances. You ask Elena a few careful questions about her financing, just to give you a place to start. She seems more amused and worried by your questions, and soon you have a few search terms to enter. You think you managed to spot some inefficiencies in her business model. Though it's tricky to be sure, because Covenant Pawn Shop is, well, it's obviously mopped up. Still after some research, you present your findings to Elena. She laughs in your face. Do you hear yourself? She says. What do you think my dad left me to mind the shop for an hour while he plays dominoes down at the bar? I do this for a living. I know what I'm doing. Back off. Okay? You know what? I need allies. And I like pretty girls with tattoos. I just want to have my options available. What are your tattoos, you ask? Elena hesitates for a moment, then shrugs out of her red leather jacket, revealing biomechanical sleeve tattoos. When my grandmother's first brother died, she turned to opium and art. I couldn't figure out where to get opium, so when my brother died, I read a lot of art books. You place a finger on one bicep, where Geiger's birth machine slowly tessellates into a blur of abstract mechanical shapes, ringed by tentacle. She permits the contact for a moment and slides her jacket back up. You're going to be in Tuscune for a while, she asks. Yeah, well, yeah, you say. My number is on the wall, she says. Call me if you need help with work. What is it you do? Wait, don't tell me yet. You know what? Yeah. So we have 900. We're gonna buy the Frontier. We're also gonna buy sword. So most of Elena's swords are shitty more katana, so you couldn't use to beat a child to death. If you're the real deal and start at 2,500. One is much cheaper. Yeah, we'll get that. Lionel looks the case and hands you the Bavarian M1869. Someone refurbished this, but they also removed the quillons. It's supposed to be a bayonet, but now it's almost like a machete with a better balanced blade. The balance is really good. You flick it through the air a few times, getting a feel for it. Now this is a vampire stopper. Heavy enough to chop through limbs or necks, it's nonetheless a precision instrument, reliant on your agility and training. Is it authentic, you ask? You actually don't care, because unlike everyone else who comes here, you might actually need to kill someone with this thing. Well, it was, Elena says, until a guy who used to own this place cut off the... what's the word? The handguard part, so he could practice his scream with it. And so this is value as an antique is ruined, you can't afford it. Yeah. How much are your suits? Okay, I'm done shopping for now. So it's 216 according to your Nixon watch when you pull out a Covenant Park pawn shop in your new Nissan Frontier. Sunrise is at 6:29. It's still early, so you drive around for an hour just to find the cheapest gas station and the fastest way out of town. Then you accelerate smoothly onto East Broadway Boulevard near a plasma center and head for the garage address you got earlier. When a shadow crosses the hood of your Nissan, you look up and catch the glimpse of a wing eclipsing a streetlight. Was that Riga? Britzel Towers Eagle? You find your spot in the underground parking garage. Right in front of it is a metal door with a keypad. You grab everything from your Nissan, lock it, and enter the code. Inside is an office with peeling linoleum floors, an ancient metal desk with a rusty mini fridge on it, and a sleeping bag. A short tall corridor ends in a jury-rigged shower and a drain. There's a clear plastic bag and some toiletries on the towel, and a bottle of 409 that would do anything against smelling mildew. There's no Wi-Fi. Well, it's better than sleeping in an abandoned semi-trailer. You find out she gets good reception. Even better, there are escape routes into the sewers that you can use. You loosen the grates and make sure you have a clear route into sewers in case you're exposed. You're just getting settled in when you hear your door lock beep. The metal door opens, and there's Julian Sim. A new personal low, Julian says. He's wearing a glitched t-shirt and a smile. He starts to enter and then looks down and says, "You have to invite me in." No, I fucking don't, Julian, because that's not how vampires work. Still, I think it's important to set boundaries, Julian says. But if you're going to be difficult, he tosses you a tiny webcam. This was in your ceiling, by the way. Give me your phone. I'll take care of the tracking programs there. He looks so young, you think, as he wanders in and out of your shitty crash pad, sweeping for bugs. For some reason, you kind of expected him to age. You look at yourself in your Nissan side view mirror. Well, you haven't aged either. Man, it's been a while, Julian says, leaning against your doorframe. I remember the nights we spent keeping that elder asleep with offerings of blood. The days curled up together in desert. Wasn't it romantic? It was, until it was... Yeah, it was, until it suddenly wasn't. I'm not willing to tell Julian that I miss him. I had work to do, Julian says, which is the closest thing you'll get to an apology. I still have work, and tonight it concerns Clanchmere and things they get up to in their research. You half expected Julian to reach for you, but he's excited about some new project now. He was kind of always like that. I've been working with Jasper Knowles lately. Terrible what happened to Jasper. Well, of course, it's also terrible what he did to that sewer rat. And that Outlander. And that... Well, anyway. What's worse is that lately I've been working with Jasper, not K-Night to K-Night, but man to man, as it were. Why do I get the feeling that whatever you're doing is even more dangerous than what the Camarilla wants me to do? There are worse things in life and death than a little danger, Pyra, Julian says. Let me explain. Since the Convention of Thorns, the masquerade has protected us from mortal scrutiny. We hide what we are. We live in the shadows. But that can't last. He tosses the USB webcam up and down. The Second Inquisition should have taught us that. One day soon, mortals will learn the truth. This is inevitable. Do you know why Jasper Knowles decided to end his experiments with that Nosferatu? Because someone filmed it when it got out. Then he called me to turn a video from a masquerade breach into a trailer to a new student horror film. I had to fake some date stamps, but the trimmer paid me well. That's gonna happen more and more, Pirate, and eventually it's going to happen every night, all the time, always on, constant streaming. We must stop offering a hard wall against this inevitable and start creating guided path of mortals. How cool, though, would it be to, like, set yourself up as, like, a vampire streamer? So, like, say, for example, you had a webcam. All you would do is just have the webcam, like, you're not in the picture. So, like, it's still, like, say, for example, you film, like, I don't know, like, 40 minutes of footage and then just have it reloop itself. Like, that would be such a dope ass, like, oh no. But you're right, but that's all he is. Well, I'm not turning mortals into pets of the kindred, so we can eck out another 100 years of unlife. Well, that's just my point, Pyra. You won't have to eck out an existence. And you won't rule from some Hammer horror Dracula castle like most Canaanites want when they abandon the Camarilla and its traditions. You'll get to live a life. Canaanites and mortals both. We can have something better than this. Tomorrow, now that you have this beautiful machine, Julian says, banging the hood on your Nissan, Prince Latal will give you 1 of 3 USBs. Would you like to know what's on them? He doesn't let you answer. One warns your sire, Padamuster, about renovations to his hospital that will expose his followers. One informs the Tremere Nvidia cult that her mentor, Jasper Knowles, is dead. That her funding is cut off because her facility contacts with Monday biomechanical research firms threaten the masquerade. One tells the adventurer Edelyn Olive Krona that the Second Inquisition is coming for her little prison buffet down the border. Wherever you go, the people there will use you, or destroy you, to escape what's coming. And it's all happening because of Jasper's experiments. Yeah, the Second Inquisition, you sure they're active again? Well, they're active in Tuscoon, and they've been following me, Julian says, which means they're following you too. I need your help tracking them to keep them away from my work. That's all. I won't even ask you to work against Prince Latal the Camarilla. Just watch for the Second Inquisition. But first, let me just demonstrate how disposable you are to the prince. Now think back to what I taught you. Where is the best place to begin, Per? The walls? Latal's thralls? His pet bird Friga? Another damn test. Julian used to love these, but you have no love for the Camarilla and its traditions. And Julian always had a knack for spotting spies. He watches you as you look around your little garage. Let's do some technical analysis. So instead of waiting aside, Julian switched on this out for bugs. What's he done? He doesn't say anything, even as sunrise approaches and you continue to work. You unscrew the webcam and check the serial number of its individual parts. Using your phone, you trace some of these serial numbers to domestic suppliers, then to defense contractors. When you start to get worried about all the trackers you're picking up, you restart your VPN a few times. But finally, you start to recognize some of these names from your time with Julian. These are SI suppliers, you whisper. Exactly. So either the SI installed that webcam, or Prince Latal's people installed it, unaware of its provenance. Which is worse? Or Julian is lying from top to bottom in order to manipulate you. He takes out his phone, checks the time, frowns a little. You're going to need better security than this if you stay here, he says. What are you going to rig up? Cameras? Poison gas like we used in Fort Worth? Maybe a laser tripwires? Despite the late hour, it takes a while to get Julian off the subject of security. And finally, he drops his voice and says, you need to be ready for the SI Pyre. Anyway, I've been thinking about Isla. I will seriously beat the shit out of Julian if he keeps talking. Let's not speak of those we lost. I'm glad you understand what power looks like, Pyre. Julian says, when I was young, I thought knowledge was power. My brace taught me that power is power. I think the diablerie of Ayla taught you the same thing. It's true, you can still feel Ayla's stolen strength. And sometimes, especially when the hunger is upon you, you still hear her thoughts screaming through your withered veins. It's almost sunrise, Julian says, checking his phone again. I'm late for prayer. He slips a business card out of his glitch hoodie and says, with my server contact dead, my old Denver company 2100X is on hiatus. But I'm still thinking about the future. The 22nd century. Think about that, Pyra. It's sort of blank spot in our imagination. I mean, human imagination too. We talked about the 21st century as kids. We can still, in a way, imagine the far future. But what's coming? What's it going to be like 80 or 100 years from now? Because I plan to be there. and I want your help. Why do I feel it's just Captain America, like, join up, soldier? You're getting the impression that the Camarilla wants you. Maybe Prince Latal just wants you as patsy in case the Second Inquisition hits him like the Fist of God. But he hasn't mistreated you yet. And you know that Kindred and the Camarilla do not serve two masters. You can tell me the details tomorrow. Yeah, maybe best discuss plans in my haven. Tempting, he says with a small sharp tooth smile as he scans the room. But it doesn't look like you have a second sleeping bag. Well, I'll call you. You can't just, June says, momentarily losing his equilibrium. But then he leans back, squeezing the bridge of his nose. Of course you can, he says. I'm sorry, dawn is near. You know how I get. Will you be okay here, Pyra? You shrug. If you're not, call me, he says, nodding to the card he gave you. Text me before you leave tomorrow. He hands you a card with information about how to reach him, the motel where he's staying, and location of a drop box. There's a little glyph like a knife jiggle on the card. A karambit, he says. I'm not exactly a regular member of Clan Bad who hacked him, so that's what I'm using instead of the old 2100 logo to mark my holdings. No name yet, just the mark. Look for a pie. Then he opens the door to your little office room, scans the shadows, and disappears down the garage. In no evident hurry, despite the proximity of sunrise. The metal door swings shut. You let the shock of Julian Sims' return fade. Then you check your Nixon watch as you take it off. It's 6:20 a.m. You secure the door, drop the deadbolt, and strip out of your streetwear. You don't even have time for a shower, so you just unroll the sleeping bag and make sure your phone's charging. You dream of flying high over the Alps at night, the roar of a single-seater engine in your ear, a silk scarf wrapped around your throat to keep off the cold. Though you are far already colder than anything else in these skies. Your dream shifts to a huge moon over a city you know so well that no name comes to mind. All turquoise domes and tall towers, black against the midnight sky. And then the same city, except it is only a village. Low mud huts, donkeys, children laughing. It's morning and the sun feels hot against your back and your bare limbs. Well, not dreams, memories. One last memory, one that you know isn't yours. You remember forcing your eyes open after years of darkness and looking up at two eager fledglings. One from your own clan, one clan Bruja. You remember watching Frozen as the Bruja's fangs slide out. You open your eyes for real and check your phone. It is 5:49 p.m. Sunset. Ayla is sleeping again. Your fangs are protruding. You shake your head until they go away. Though you keep remembering the coating of dust on the elder's throat as you sank your teeth into her. Your shower, scraping the last of the filth out from under your fingernails. Then you decide where you're going. You don't want to keep Prince Latal waiting as you make a decision. Your first stop will be... Sorry, I thought I had my cat. You know what? Let's visit our old bestie. Yeah. Okay. So, before we start chapter 4, I'm gonna quickly head on a BRB. My neck is killing me and I need to stretch out. But yeah, we'll be back in kind of probably about 5 minutes and I'll catch y'all in a second. That's the wrong one. That's the one we're looking for.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to grab something to eat. I've not eaten pretty much all day. I was just catching up with the Twitter news, like with everything that's been happening over the past couple of days. It's been a bewildering week. I'm not gonna lie. I just want to switch from Rick Schaefer. Wait, he did stuff for Elder Scrolls? Okay. Wait, why did I... what? I remember liking those. That's weird. Oh, that's why. Okay. Weird. Where's the more music from the vault? Sorry, yep. Moment. Oh, fuck. I got something stuck in my throat. But yeah, it's been a weird couple weeks. So I am going to switch over. I'm gonna make sure to save this. We'll probably come back to this tomorrow. It's all saved. I'm probably gonna switch over to Among Us. Just while my brain's working. So, Among Us. What we're going to be doing is I'm going to change this to talk times. What the fuck is it? Fucking chat. No, wait, what the fuck is the chatting thing again? Just chatting, that's it. So we're just going to quickly swap over to just chatting. Probably get botted as soon as I do, but you know, whatever. I'm just gonna add transgender in there because I'm spiteful. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so basically, I was scrolling through, it was either Twitter or Tumblr. Wait, why are there... oh, it's Funko, that's why. That was weird. And basically, there was an Among Us drinking game that I saw. Because it's Saturday. Drink responsibly. Basically, I bought some alcohol, and it's a thing called sours, which... no, welcome back. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart the stream, so then I can upload it straight to YouTube and not have to worry about crossing the streams. But so basically, there was a thing a couple of weeks ago talking about an Among Us drinking game. And basically, from what I remember, you drink when you... so you take a sip of your drink every time you complete a task. If a meeting's called right before your task, there's obviously like a reactor meltdown, O2, you know. We eject a crewmate, but they're... but obviously, like, either they're, you know, crewmate or it's anonymous. We call a emergency meeting, find a dead body. I'm gonna do a shot every time I die. And then, obviously, if the crewmates win. So, I need to quickly... I did have a document with it in, but I've lost it. So, if you give me 1 sec... this can go away now. Change it to... let's change it to... oh, let's change it to something less bright. Let's change it to... blue. Yeah, change it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so... basically... yeah, so basically, if we complete a task, if a meeting is called before we complete a task, if there's some sort of sabotage, if we eject a crewmate, if someone calls an emergency meeting, if we find a dead body, and obviously if we win, we'll take a drink. If we die, we're gonna be taking a shot. That includes if we get ejected, obviously. So, I'm gonna really quickly restart the stream once I've got Among Us loaded up. We'll just get some Nintendo
Happy Music. Nintendo Music. This is not the Nintendo Music I wanted. Where the fuck is the... Hang on. There is a particular... coconut. Should come under the coconut more. Yeah, there we go. Okay, player. That's what I'm looking for. Music. Close. What name have I got? Let's change my name real quick. Oh yeah, sure. Cool. We're gonna change this real quick to Among Us. If we can, because my internet's being gay. Yeah, I'm gonna hang on. Yeah, because I need to real quickly change game. Bestie, stop it. Among Us. Okay. There we go. Right. I should want to quickly get it all set up, and then I'm gonna, as I said, I'm gonna restart the stream and here are Among Us. Right. So I'm gonna